What's important in marketing? I mean, the question you want to ask yourself is, how do I get people to care about what I'm trying to get out there? And this is the question that all marketers ask themselves. To care about my product or care about my company, etc. How do I get people to really want what I'm promoting? Previously, we discussed the importance of content development and how approaching it the right way can yield massive results. We also discussed how metrics and measuring success can be easier with social media. Today, what we will be discussing is how to develop a social marketing strategy. I will briefly go over a leaner model based on the lean startup and my own personal experience. And you may find that there's a practical approach between the two. And this could pop up as we discuss different examples. But what is expected, most of all, is that you understand what it takes to develop a social media marketing campaign. Now, a great example of how effective marketing content and developing an overall strategy can be is shown by Netflix's approach to subscription. Only about a few decades ago, distribution of content was solely the business of large distribution channels, retail stores, and major industry labels. However, Netflix is one of the primary providers of streaming content. One could even say that any content development done by a company should base their strategy on Netflix for a subscription model. Well, as far as the subscription model is concerned. But when we think of marketing, we don't think of our customers subscribing to our marketing. We think of TV ads or commercials before a YouTube video, or even some commercials between our Pandora playlists, right? But when we develop content, right, or we develop content around a product, if we have a mindset where we're thinking this is something that we want our customers to continue to view or to continue to search for, then we take a strategy and approach that's closer to storytelling than marketing and just putting out commercials, right? So Netflix has taken this approach in a way that's very distinct and very disruptive as far as the industry is concerned. Netflix has 117 million subscribers currently, and it's international. And on top of that, it's international in over 190 countries. So how does one develop this kind of clout? You have to develop content that is aligned with a marketing strategy. Netflix has attracted its subscribers by bundling large amounts of content. It has a library full of different things that people want to see. And this is what gets people into their website. A large amount of content that is viewed online comes from YouTube and Netflix. I mean, these are two channels that changed the industry. They leverage social network and social media, individuals, and the creativity that came from the culture. Now, individuals can become producers, program directors, and even distributors. One thing we can learn from the history of distribution is that at one point, blockbuster content was the go-to profit-making product. Movies, music, books, albums, etc. These blockbusters made profit by having what the industry would call legs. This could be sequels, music, albums, books, anything that you could think of that could extend. Merchandising, right? These products can extend to other streams of revenue and cash through this merchandising and product development or placement. Netflix, on the other hand, showed us that we can turn all these niche markets into a consumer base that is collected around the content, which can also yield high profits. The way they do this is by using economies of scale to reduce their cost and effective pricing to retain market share. If the social marketing strategy you use has a low cost by using an economies of scale, and also has a great pricing point, you could also take advantage of the same things that Netflix has. If you believe that Netflix is the only company doing this, you would be greatly mistaken. A quick example that almost everyone is familiar with is the content developed by Geico. Geico commercials are so catchy that people spend time looking up different versions of the same commercial. Yet few companies effectively use marketing as a way to create conversations or even a culture around the company. By approaching your marketing as a content development approach, instead of reaching out to marketing experts and simply basing your strategy on research, you are developing an artistic approach that borders entertainment, informative, and often persuasive content. Some of the major benefits of taking this approach include having more tools to evaluate the market potential, crafting more effective marketing material, and conducting and learning from experiments on consumer behavior. You also get the advantage of finally capturing data on individuals, something that I highlight in a previous video. The last and most important aspect is identifying niche high profit segments. These are markets that large corporations have trouble tapping into, but they are the entryways to any small business finding lucrative success. Another example of genius marketing strategy is based on the comic book movie Deadpool. The movie was based on a character who was an anti-hero of the universe he was written into. With the fad of highly anticipated hero movies at its highest point, the movie offered a unique take on the often cliche genre. This gave the movie an opportunity to approach the marketing in a unique way, as well as standing out from the competition. Deadpool was originally not slated for any production, but that quickly changed once the footage was leaked to the general public. The timing of the leaked footage of this movie played a crucial role in the project being given the green light to start producing. Comic-Con, the conference of comic enthusiasts, were the first adopters to not only accept the leak as proof of concept, but force Fox to consider making the film. Fox, seeing the business opportunity, then went ahead and budgeted approximately $50 million for the project. What would follow would be content equivalent to recording time of the actual movie. This content was designed to be different and in your face. It also was designed to be a nod to the first adopters and what they felt was important. Whether it was the movie retaining a faithfulness to the source material or to the details in the character development, the movie marketed to what was stated as important to the consumer, but also a derived importance based on gut feelings and the reception of the previous comic book hero films. This created a hype around the film that was unprecedented. They leaked footage that created an almost insider exclusive feeling when sharing the content. They showed attention to detail by humorously posing in the costume the main hero is wearing, and even went so far to market the wrong information, an April Fool's prank. They strayed away from convention in order to stand out from the crowd, and it worked. The movie budget was only $58 million, yet it managed to gross over $700 million worldwide. They touched not only on stated importance of movie features, but also the derived importance through the content that the market was consuming. The content can be either high cost or low cost, depending on which option you choose. Some might find that it's more convenient for them to develop their own content, hire writers, or even have high-end cameras that take high quality 4K or 1080p quality videos. Then there are other people like Kanye West who go on rants and leverage the mainstream media to really advertise what's going on. These are low-cost marketing tactics used to get high-quality content outsourced by the mainstream media collective. In general, the cost of having high-quality journalists, distribution platforms, and even sound bites distributed across a large network can get astronomically priced out. Kanye West has outsourced this to major networks with high-quality journalists, the same distribution platforms, and marketing teams that develop sound bites for their own websites, and even articles written about what he may be ranting about at the time. This allows him to market his product without spending anything on marketing. What Kanye West highlights is a key concept known as subverting expectation. When it comes to customers' expectations, there's only two things you could do that lead to success. Either you subvert their expectation or you exceed their expectation. What we are finding now that some of the greatest marketing tactics, or even some of the cheapest marketing tactics, is to subvert the expectation, meaning to go in the opposite direction of what people expect, often either antagonizing or surprising them in a different way than what's expected. A strategy can encompass blogs, articles, infographics, videos, podcasts, case studies, ebooks, white papers, e-newsletters, quizzes, visual content for social media, content design, or content design. Each one has their own benefits and disadvantages, but there's no reason why you can't use any of these, a mix, or even something creative that you might have thought of while we were going through the example. So now when it comes to developing the marketing strategy should have the following. You could do a situation analysis, which really encompasses an internal analysis of the company as well as an external analysis of the environment. Also, you could look into the market to see which areas you could penetrate. Sometimes that requires that you segment the market into different groups based on either different interests, different geolocations, financial aspects, like how much they're willing to make, or even preferences. All these things could be used in the analysis into determining how's the best way to get into this market to make money. Then the following thing is you want to set up marketing objectives. The mistake that some people make is they often set up just goals and say, I want to accomplish this or that, or I want to be able to develop X, Y, and Z, but they don't set the measures or the metrics that they're going to use in order to determine whether it's successful or not. And what's important is that as a marketing strategist, or as a person who's developing your marketing plan, you don't want to get locked into doing a strategy and not knowing whether you're doing well or not. So setting up those metrics, making sure that those objectives are attainable, and setting time limits are good ways to develop great objectives that actually make something happen, right? And of course, you want to have an actual strategy. How are you going to execute this plan? How are you going to make this happen? What are the steps required for you to be able to get into the market? What is the conversion rate that you're going to be looking at? These has to be written out. And in most companies, they expect a thorough report to be given to the CMO, Chief Managing Officer. Chief Marketing Officer, or a management person who would want to review and make sure that this strategy is something worth doing. And finally, implementation and control. You want to bring it back to the table and bring it back to the drawing board, or have the ability to do so that way you could either pivot or adjust your plan accordingly based on whatever it is that you guys determine is happening. Finally, content can always be designed towards doing all of these things at once, right? So the example we gave was a Netflix subscription, where we found that Netflix was able to had this library of content, but the primary thing was whenever a subscriber would click on the content or view the content, that gave them insight on what the subscriber was interested in. If you develop content that's designed to get information from the clients and really get insight on not just their stated important values, but their implicit important values that they don't necessarily either state or even know that they have, this could be a great insight. And developing content that does all four of these aspects is really the key and most cost-effective way to approach it. Now, when I said I'm going to give an example of a lean model strategy. The lean model, or the lean approach in any business, including small business, really takes into account just developing a proof of concept and then exploring what's called a value hypothesis and a growth hypothesis, right? So just because I just threw a couple terms out there, let me just explain that. Proof of concept simply means how do you prove that the concept or idea or product is something that's wanted in the market, right? And pretty much it's like why should people care? How could you prove that people care about this product? The second value hypothesis is really talking about what is the value, or what is the could you validate the cost associated with the product and that people are willing to pay that, right? And then finally is the growth hypothesis. How do you know that people are willing to advocate for more people using this product or service, right? When you develop content that's oriented towards all three of these things, you develop content that either proves the concept or prove that people want the concept, that show not just the value of the product, but is able to be designed in such a way that it shows that there is a back and forth conversation. So an example of some of the content that I gave before are quizzes. Sometimes a quiz could be designed to ask the questions, how would you like this product given to you? Or what are the approaches that you take as far as getting this service for yourself? And I know I'm speaking in general, but the reality is with my content and developing coursework, the quizzes and the tests that I give these students also give insight to the content that I'm developing. Because if the students don't learn off of the material, that means I need to change the design, right? The other thing that I do is I post all my videos online, so that way all students that I ever have, or even students that I may continue to have access to these videos and may ask me different questions about things that I state in other content. But this is a good insight for me, so that way I could develop content that's not just geared towards what I think is important, but also to what the community that's engaging thinks it's important. And this is what I use as well as a marketing tool for myself and my career. So with that being said, I hope this was insightful. If you want to get to a more in-depth discussion about marketing strategy, there is another video that I did release last semester that I'm going to put a link up for you guys as well. Again, this is Professor Suarez. Thank you so much for tuning in, and good luck on the exam next week, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or shoot me a text. Take care.